Welcome back everyone to another video response to an FAQ. This time we have a video regarding the Visual Production Scheduler or the VPS. And one question we got asked in the past is how do we make use of queue time on the VPS, or do we actually consider queue time on the VPS? And actually just recently during our latest update for the VPS, this is a functionality of Business Central that we already support. So as always, let's look at the VPS specifically and look how this actually works. So here I have a very simple production order. It has two operations, one operation on assembly station 1 and one operation on assembly station number 2. So first things first, what we have to do is we have to go under actions, administration, and setup. And we have to make sure that under scheduling on our setup, you have the consider queue time checked. So that's number 1. And number 2, we have to make sure that we actually have a queue time set up on the specific machine center that we need the queue time on. So for this example, let's put the queue time on station number 2. Let's say the queue time is actually 60 minutes. So now we have 60 minutes queue time for assembly station number 2, which means that once I'm done with assembly station 1 with the first operation, assembly station number 2, in order to begin the next operation, needs 60 minutes for the queue time. So now how does that work? So let's just reload. And now when we start dragging and dropping on the Visual Production Scheduler, we'll actually notice something quite different. So here we can see that when I drag and drop that, you'll see that there's actually some space in between the two operations. So we're keeping that 1 hour queue time that we previously set up on assembly station number 2. So before assembly station number 2 can work on the second operation, he needs that 1 hour queue time here in between. So that's something that we help you visualize with this line here. And now, once we start making any drag and drop changes, that queue time will be considered. So let's zoom in a little bit to see. And if we move this here, then you'd actually notice that the second operation won't start right after the first operation ends, but rather you'd see that kind of 1 hour duration in between that makes up the queue time that we set up earlier. So when you use the functionality for scheduling predecessors and successors, that queue time will always be considered. So, you know, as when I start moving that to wherever I want, then you'd always see that same amount here of queue time being considered. And actually, this is a functionality that you'd also see on the Visual Advanced Production Scheduler. So for those of you who might be wondering. So yeah, simply put, that is how we consider queue time. And just to wrap things up, first of all, you have to make sure that you have that queue time set up on your work center or your machine center. And the next is that you have that on your VPS setup. So the consider queue time has to be ticked. And lastly, this queue time will be considered whenever you make drag and drop changes or you use the schedule successor predecessor functionality. Then the queue time is always considered. Again, thank you for listening to me. If you want to learn more about the VPS, then I urge you to contact us at sales@netronic.com, or you could visit our blog, or you could also subscribe to our YouTube channel.